Now, I am going to help you to be able to identify the extracts, if it comes from whatever act, by making you to know the main element of each act from Act 1 to Act 4. So that when the speech comes from there, you will be guided by these main things I'm going to say to you. And then you can be able to identify that this is what the speech is about. Remember that Act 1 focuses on the conflict between the patricians and the plebeians, leading to the compromise of giving them 5 representatives in the Senate House to represent their interests, known as the tribunes. This move is condemned by Coriolanus because he believes that it is a precedence for future resurrection. The plebeians accuse the patricians of hoarding grain, increasing the prices of grain, lack genuine love for them, and give them things only out of abundance or when it is in bad condition. They particularly hold Caius Marcius responsible for their problems because they accuse him of being the enemy of the people. They also accuse him of pride, and that whatever he does it to please his mother and not out of patriotism. That explains the reason why Menenius comes in to back him up and give explanations that he is a good man. There is also a hint that Romans will go to war with the Volscians, the greatest enemies of Rome. And there is also contrast between Ophidius and Coriolanus, as the former is a strategist who has all information before he tries to engage in war, whereas Coriolanus is very erratic. The next thing you note, Volumnia tries to comfort Vigilia that Marcius will come back home in triumph. She prefers her son to spend time in the battlefield and bring honor home than spend time in romantic adventures. Vigilia refuses to go out despite assurances that Marcius is used to fighting since at a tender age of 16. The next thing to note, the war rages on around Corioli, in which Marcius galvanizes Roman soldiers. He warns them that anyone who will behave in a cowardly manner will be treated as a traitor. The Roman soldiers retreat and Marcius curses them with the intention to make them become bold. Then Marcius enters Corioli alone and enters the gates, and the gates get shut behind him, leaving all the others, including Latius, to think that even the bravest of men like Marcius will not come out of the place alive. But he comes out covered in blood after having defeated the city all alone. Next to note, Cominius wants his soldiers to rest. There is news that the battle is raging on, and Cominius waits to meet them and give them a helping hand when Marcius suddenly appears, informing him that Latius is in Corioli taking care and holding the city for Rome. Marcius expresses his desire to confront Ophidius, and Cominius does not want to deny him his wish. He cheers up a few young courageous soldiers who will fight the rest of the soldiers while he focuses on Ophidius. Latius leaves a lieutenant to manage things in Corioli while he goes to meet Cominius and Marcius. Marcius and Ophidius meet, throwing words of hatred at each other. They fight honorably, but Volscian soldiers intervene, dragging Marcius away. The war is over. Cominius praises Marcius for his exploits, and he believes that such news will make the plebeians and the tribunes to understand that they hate a man of great worth and value for Rome. Cominius offers 1/10 of the treasure looted in Corioli, but Marcius declines the offer. He wants the booty to be shared equally because he has done his service for Rome, was out of patriotism, and not out of mercenary. He considers himself a soldier, and the others had contributed in their own way. Cominius honors him with the surname Coriolanus to mark his victory over Coriola. So the whole of Act 1, we are dealing with Matthias until after the war, until the point when he gains the name Coriolanus. Ophidius gets information that Coriola has fallen and will only be returned to the Volscians on certain conditions, which offends his pride. He swears to defeat Matthias, even if it means using foul means the next time they meet. He wishes to know how many soldiers that have been taken as hostages to Rome. That's all about Act 1. Any extract from this section shall take into consideration what I have just said. Take note of the characterization, themes, and how the extract helps develop the plot. In the case of stylistic devices, identify quote before you show its effective use. Putting lines in English does not mean explanation, like I had already explained. Then you can take note of the following areas where speeches can be brought. I'm just going to identify them. The speech of the plebeians complaining about the treatment they get from the Romans. You can also take note about Menenius defending Coriolanus and convincing the plebeians against the Romans. You can also take note of Volumnia consoling Vigilia not to be worried because her husband will come back home safe and in honor. And lastly, the battle of Corioli and the honor which is given to Coriolanus. Anything that comes from this act, you already know the main ideas, and you can be able to trace the different questions that will be asked.